welcome back to my channel. If this is going to be the first video you are going to watch, I hope you do stick around. We do talk about the Chris Watts murders, anything old and anything new. So if this is a case that you just can't let go or something just doesn't seem right, this is the place to be. So I hope you do hit that subscribe button. And to my returning subs, you know I adore you. And as always, I hope this video finds all of you at a good place mentally, spiritually, physically, and financially. And with that being said, let's get started with the video. So we're going to be looking at the discovery today. I want us to look at the reports for the surveillance that was done on Chris Watts on August 14th. So this was Tuesday, the day after the murders. And of course, at this time, Shanann and the girls were only missing. There were about 5 different cars that were watching Chris, and I'm not going to go through every single report because they pretty much say the same thing. So this first report was done by Nathaniel McManus, and it says, on August 14th, 2018, Longmont Police responded to a request for assistance by Frederick PD. On August 14th, 2018, at approximately 1500 hours, so that would have been 3 p.m., Sergeant Harper, currently assigned to the Longmont Police Department Special Enforcement Unit, received a call from Sergeant Egan of the Frederick PD to assist with the missing person, possibly homicide investigation. Advised that a female subject and her 2 children, so Shanann, Bella, and Cece, were reported missing, and then it gives their address. He further advised that the circumstances of the incident were suspicious in nature. He requested the assistance of LPD SEU for surveillance of operations of the male subject identified as the female's husband. So again, they're reaching out to Longmont for surveillance on Chris Watts. SEU was advised that the male subject was last observed at the residence loading items into a white Lexus SUV bearing state of Colorado, and it gives the license plate number. So we have Chris on August 14th, roughly around 3 p.m. He is seen by the officer surveillancing him, coming out of the residence and putting something inside the Lexus trunk. Right here, it says that Egan received information that a uniformed officer in the neighborhood observed Chris packing up what appeared to be blankets and a cooler inside the white Lexus while it was in the garage. He also said that afterwards, Chris shut the garage and a vehicle pulled up. It gives the license plate number, and it said that there was a male and female that got out of that vehicle. So the next names, these are going to be the 5 that were surveillancing Chris Watts on August 14th. So we have Sergeant Harper, Detective McManus, Detective Pollock, Officer Ownby, and Officer Townsend. It says that they responded to the area and observed a white Lexus SUV parked in front of the residence. Again, male and female were observed sitting on the steps of the front porch. We also know that was Nick and Amanda. It was later determined that these were associates of the male subject. Sometime around 6:30, Officer Ownby observed the male suspect, who had been identified as Christopher Lee Watts, exit the garage of the resident in the white Lexus SUV, so again in Shanann's car. He exited the driveway eastbound out of sight for a few moments. Surveillance units then observed him stopped at a brown Ford pickup that appeared to be a fleet truck for an oil company based on its marking and description. So we know that that is Chris's truck, and it was parked away from the house. This vehicle was identified as belonging to Watts as a business-owned vehicle for Anadarko Oil Services. It was identified by the state, and then it just goes on and gives the license plate information. Chris was at his truck for several minutes with the rear hatch of the Lexus open and the doors of the truck also open. He then departed but immediately returned to the truck for a few more moments. So he's there at his truck, obviously getting something out of it and putting it in the trunk of the Lexus. He leaves and then immediately comes back. And we know that Nicole Kessinger is the one who told Chris to park his truck down the street. She said she told him because if Shanann didn't see his truck there, then she would be more willing to come home. And I think that is BS. I think she told him to park the truck away from the house because she knew that day the search dogs were coming. Then it says, he departed the neighborhood traveling directly to I-25 southbound. Surveillance units kept him in sight as he continued south to 136th Avenue, where he turned eastbound. He then turned north on Washington Street. He traveled to Highway 7 and turned east. Detective Still arrived to assist with surveillance around this time. He then flipped a U-turn and traveled west back to I-25 northbound. He got off at Highway 52, traveling east and ultimately traveling to Frederick PD, where he had been requested for an interview with detectives. So we do know that he interviewed with Coder that night. So after he ultimately was parked by his work truck and getting something out of there and putting it in the Lexus, he was headed somewhere. And is it possible he was going to Nick and Amanda's at that time? Or did he tell Nick and Amanda, I'll meet up with you, and he was possibly going somewhere else? I think it's interesting the direction he was going is also the same as if he was going towards the mistress's house. But again, who knows where he was going, because he ended up getting a phone call and he does a U-turn and he goes straight to Frederick PD, so we really don't know where he was really headed to. And I'm not the only one who thought he was possibly going to go to the Mistress house, because it says right here, after the interview was completed, Sergeant Egan advised that he believed Watts would travel to, and it gives the Mistress apartment address. And again, she no longer lives there, so I'm not going to black it out. Then it says that Watts was observed leaving the police department following a blue sedan, which came back to the same register owners as the couple originally seen driving the other white Lexus SUV. So that would have been Nick and Amanda. Both vehicles drove directly to, and they went to Nick and Amanda's house. And it says Watts was observed entering the garage at this location. The blue sedan was parked in the garage next to the white Lexus SUV observed in front of Watts' residence at the beginning of their surveillance operation. So this other Lexus that was seen at Chris's residence and now is seen inside Nick and Amanda's garage is obviously their vehicle. Also, Amanda worked for Thrive, and she also earned her Lexus auto bonus. So now we're going to look at Sean Harper's report. I'm not going to read all of it again because it's pretty much the same information almost that the other two had said. Something that he does say that is different, though, is that when Chris went to his work truck in the white Lexus, that he was at this vehicle for several minutes with the rear hatch of the Lexus open and the doors of the truck also open. It appeared as though he was moving back and forth between both vehicles. He then departed, but immediately returned to the truck for a few more moments. So very interesting that Chris goes to the work truck and he's seen moving back and forth between the two cars. So that tells us that he obviously is taking stuff from his work truck out and putting it into the Lexus. So I think Chris was taking evidence out of his work truck and putting it in the Lexus. And I also think it's very interesting that all of these reports from the people that were doing surveillance on Chris, they said that once he got to Nick and Amanda's house, shortly after that, they figured he was going to stay there for the night, so all surveillance was called off. And they all had thought that Chris was going to go to the Mistress apartment after he was done with the interview with Coder on the 14th that night. So they sent one agent out to where the Mistress lived and sat out there and waited for Chris to arrive. But because Chris ended up going to Nick and Amanda's, they figured he wasn't going to end up going over there after all, so they even called off their surveillance from the Mistress. I am really shocked that they did not watch Chris for the full night on the 14th. In their own words, this was a possible homicide, so I'm not sure why they wouldn't surveillance him or even the Mistress. Something else I thought was interesting, that from Nick and Amanda's house to the Mistress apartment, it was only 6-minute distance. And unfortunately, since nobody was keeping an eye on Chris or the mistress, is it possible that he went to her house that night to get rid of some evidence? He could have easily snuck out when Nick and Amanda fell asleep. Or you can believe what Chris said he did that evening, that he had pizza and he went and lay down. Looking at the mistress phone bill, we know that she says she stopped talking to Chris on the 14th in the morning hours. And per her phone bill, her last phone call with Chris was at 2:07 a.m. on the 14th. Oddly, for the 14th, her last phone call was at 2:20 p.m. and it was with her friend Jim for 3 minutes. And I say oddly because the mistress talks a lot and she has a lot of phone calls throughout the day. So I'm surprised to see the 14th, you know, the day after Chris's family's missing and all this stuff, that she has no phone calls after 2:20 p.m. Makes me wonder if she was possibly using a different phone. I mean, she has no phone calls after 2 p.m., not even to friends or family. Just looking at the 15th alone, she has phone calls all the way every hour pretty much down to 8:30 p.m. And a reason why I think Chris got rid of evidence that night is because whatever happened to the blankets and the cooler that Chris was seen with loading into the Lexus trunk. Also, something to think about is that, remember, the next morning Chris had to go pick up his dad from the airport and he had to go meet up for the polygraph test at 11. So when Chris ends up failing the polygraph and they take him away, Ronnie's left there at the station and they take him to the Lexus. And I've watched this video so many times because Ronnie goes in the trunk of the Lexus and he takes his duffel bag out, and I've watched that to see what was left in the trunk because I would like to know what happened to the blankets and the cooler that Chris was seen putting in the Lexus. I had to go back to the report of the items that were recovered. Nowhere on that list was there a cooler or even blankets. And I don't believe that Chris would have left that at Nick and Amanda's house, knowing he wouldn't be going back there because he was picking up his dad. And I highly doubt he was going to have his dad spend the night over there at Nick and Amanda's when Chris has his own house. So I believe Chris would have took those items with him and they should have been in the Lexus, but they weren't. So what happened to them? And we don't even know what was in that cooler. It could have been some type of evidence. It could have been the oxy pills. We really don't know. When I look at the report, what was in the Lexus, this is what it says. Interior of the vehicle, it said it was clean and uncluttered. The rear seat passenger area, there was 2 car seats and they were secured in place. There was also the girls' clothing and shoes. They were on the floor along with some toys and a stuffed animal. In the rear cargo area of the vehicle, so the trunk, were numerous zippered, empty duffel-style bags. Also located in the cargo area were several items of men's clothing, and then it documents what clothing it was. It was a shirt, socks, underwear, jeans, and a belt. Also newer brown leather boots. Then it says medical paperwork was also recovered, as well as paperwork collected from the Front Center Council, identifying dates and times of travel from Denver International Airport. So I wonder if that might have been possibly her plane ticket information. But nowhere on this report is the blanket or the cooler that Chris originally was seen taking and putting in the Lexus. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think Chris was tampering with evidence? I personally think he was taking stuff out of that work truck and putting it in the Lexus and was going to get rid of it. Let me know what you guys think about this cooler and the blankets. What happened to them? Where did they go? And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit longer than normal, so I really do hope you guys take the time to hit that like button and share it. It's just a free way you can show your love and support for me, and it does help my channel grow. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys all soon. Bye. What do you guys think about that? I don't know. My mind, I just noticed it right now, so I need to process it all. Let me know in the comments what you guys think overall of this whole video about Chris getting rid of evidence and everything. This video is kind of long, so I do appreciate if you guys take the time to like it and share it. And I will talk to you guys all soon. Bye.